few months ago, someone called Alex contacted me. So Alex is an e-commerce brand owner and he sells shirts and shoes and all of that jazz online. And he told me, listen, this time last year, our bank balance had a lot more breathing room, but something is a bit different this year. We can't figure out what's happening. I need your help. Now, kudos to Alex. He already had a look at some data, his bank balance, to spot some red flags. But knowing he's not in the mood for a finance talk, we had a marketing conversation rather. Now, what we did is we had a look at his dashboards. And I know when I say data analytics, it's like, yeah, it's very interesting. But we had a look at his dashboards, we had a look at some of his figures, and we spotted a very interesting trend. This time last year, Alex and his team were incredibly active on emails. They were sending regular campaigns, they were sending voucher codes, all of that stuff with really good SL subject lines, really good CTAs, and that created a lot of revenue for Alex and his brand. This year, email marketing was kind of like the house plant that nobody wanted to water. And understandably so. I mean, the company had recently opened a new branch. Life happened. One of the people had a new baby in the house. So life got really busy and they were still very active in their marketing activities, but some things started to dip. And now that we spotted that, we set up an email campaign, we sent out a few emails, and even in our first send, we could see the revenue increasing already. Now, what we did wasn't a magic marketing wand, no magic marketing jazz hands. We just had a look at the data. And the thing is, our aim here for today is not to try and give you guys a new job title. I know you already are wearing a lot of hats. My aim here today is to help you to see data as little clues, little magnifying glasses that can help you understand what you're doing, how it's going, and what you can do to fix if it's not going that well. Now you will see a little QR code on all of my slides. As you can see, I am really excited about this topic, and who'd have thunk that data analytics can make someone very excited. But the concept of data analytics is also very intricate, very nuanced, and there's a lot of information that I cannot share in 20 minutes. So I created a little companion guide, and I say little, it's like 30 pages long, that breaks down all of the stuff that I'm talking about in this talk as well, and also goes deeper into deeper detail that explains the different metrics and explains what you can do. And I'll also tell you a little bit more about what's in it later in the presentation. But now, Alex's situation reminded me of something. Marketing, doing something wrong in your marketing is never because you're not paying enough attention. It's never because you're not putting in enough energy. We are all working really hard to market and to sell our businesses and our brands. Problems in marketing tend to happen when we vibe market. When we do what we do just based on what we're feeling instead of the information that's in front of us. When we do that, it costs a lot of money. It's like driving with a car that has a fogged up windscreen. You're going in a direction, you're going really slowly, you miss a few turnoffs, you spend a lot more money on gas than you should have, and you end up in the wrong place. So, like with Alex, he wasn't bad at marketing. His team wasn't bad at marketing. They were just not putting the energy where it was supposed to be. We spotted the gap, we fixed it, and it already had a really big impact on their revenue. And that is why guessing costs money, because we end up fixing things that aren't broken. We end up fixing things incorrectly, like introducing a whole new strategy or a new software. And when we know what to do, it's easier for us to know what to fix. The thing is that most people are very surprised to understand that our overwhelmed feeling when it comes to information and data is never about the data itself. It's because we don't know how to look at our data. We don't know what questions to ask. So we bring in more data, we bring in more dashboards, we bring in new platforms that help us see more data. And we just get even more confused. And then we end up closing the laptop, and that's the end of that. The thing is, you don't need more data to know what to do with it. You just need better questions. because questions act like filters. Questions give us direction. It helps us to know what to look at, what not to look at, and it saves us so much more time and energy. For Alex and his company, our question was, what happened last year that's not happening this year? What was the difference? And that question guided us to the specific information we were looking for. Because good questions narrow our focus. And a practical question gives the data that we have meaning. Questions like, what changed last year? Are people finding what they're supposed to be expecting? And all of those thingies. When our data has meaning, we can make decisions that build and bring our business forward. But now, how do we know what questions to ask? I'm a very practical individual. I used to lecture marketing and social media management a while back, so you'll see this presentation is incredibly practical. How do we know what questions to ask of our data? We have a look at our goals as a business. We have a look at the goals for what we are trying to do, because what you track depends on what you want. We have a look at the activity that we're doing. Why did we do this specific thing? And that helps us to understand what metrics to look at, because metrics are tied to goals. And you will be very excited to know that those aren't all over the place. There are tons of goals, but we can divide these goals into three main categories. Goals aren't random. And now I've listed a few of the metrics. Now, metrics are the little things that you look at on your dashboard, in your Facebook analytics, in your LinkedIn analytics. I listed a few of them that fit within the goal categories, but again, they are explained in a lot more detail in the companion document that I created. Three categories. First, we have awareness goals. This is what you want to achieve, what you're doing when you want to increase awareness in your brand. For that, we have a look at reach, we have a look at impressions, profile views, and all of those things. Then we have sales and inquiries goals. Essentially, this is the stuff when we want people to actually interact and engage with our content. We want them to buy stuff. We want them to submit leads. So then you have a look at lead submissions, booking page visits. How many times did people add stuff to their cart? How many times did they abandon their cart? And then in the third group, we have the education and explanation. Now, this group is generally very present with counselors, coaches, accountants, people who have to educate their audience before they can ask them to do something. Now, these goals include having a look at the time on page. How deep did people scroll on your website? How many times did they save your post? We essentially want to know, did the information that we share with our audience actually make sense? Did they internalize this information? Whenever I have this conversation with a client, I always see a little smile, because it's at that point where someone realizes that it's no wonder that we feel like we're failing when we have a look at our data, because we are essentially just looking at everything. And we are essentially judging our activities in the same way we judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Because when you want to have a look at your sales, but you're looking at your impressions, it doesn't tell you much. How to know which metrics we need to measure? We need to have a look at our goal. And how to know what to do with the information that the metrics tell us? We have to ask the right questions that are related to our goals. Now that we know that to know what information to look at, which numbers to look at when you open your dashboards, we need goals. We need to know what our goal is for the information. We need to understand, how do we create a story? Because it's one thing to look at your likes on your post, had 1,000 likes, yay. What does that mean? And how we do that is we divide our metrics into three metric categories. Think of it this way. If you're trying to find something that's missing in your house, looking at your goals is knowing which room to look at. Looking at the metric categories is knowing where in the room to look at. And again, you'll be happy to know that these are divided in three categories. First, we have our activity metrics. This tells us, this is the information that you're listening to, that tells us what we did. For example, Alex, he sent emails one year. He did not send emails the next year. Did we post enough? Did we share at the right time? How many times did we email? What did we do? Next, we have our attention metrics, which tells us essentially how did what we do. It tells us if what we shared actually got any interest. And then last, we have a look at our action metrics. And this is the important one. Our action metrics helps us to answer the question, did what I do lead to anything meaningful for my business? However, when we have a look at our information, like I mentioned, we have to look at these in pairs. To create a context and to create a story and to know what to do with the information that our metrics is telling us, we need to look at two different metrics in relation to each other and in relation to the goal that we're trying to achieve. For example, if we shared a post online and we wanted to get a lot of people through to our website, having a look and seeing that, oh my goodness, my post got 10,000 likes, brilliant. But it didn't actually get a lot of clicks to my website. To know why it didn't do that, we have to create a story. We can see that it was a really exciting piece of content. People actually liked it. They connected it with it, but they didn't know what to do with it. So we can increase better our CTA, our call to action. We can make the link clearer. We can add a QR code. We can make it an automatic. So there's tons of stuff we can do based on the story that we have created. And again, in the companion document, I have a 4-page troubleshoot section where I list and go through some of the most obvious or some of the most popular experiences that you can have in situations and what to do based on those situations. Now, I want you to remember at this point that our goals tell us what to measure and our metric categories tell us what the measurement means. And now that you kind of know where to look and what to look at, I want to take you through 4 things that you need to remember when looking at your information, when creating a story. First, it's important to have a look at patterns instead of specific days. For example, a few days ago, Cloudflare went down, which meant most of the internet went down, which meant your metrics would have gone down as well. But that was a singular event. When we have a look at trends, like Alex saw there was a dip in his revenue, there was a dip in his emails, his interest, his sales as throughout the month. That is a trend that we're picking up. That is a red flag. Next, as I mentioned, we have to look at our metrics in pairs, because to know what to do to make decisions and to do point number 3, we need to understand the story. So once we have had a look at our metrics in pairs, then we need to translate the information that we're getting into a specific decision, something related to what we're trying to achieve that would help us fix the red flag. For example, if your traffic is down, website traffic is down, but your inquiries are up, what can we do with that? And then lastly, I want you to remember that your numbers aren't there to judge you. I think when we open dashboards and we open our analytics and we think, oh my word, I did so bad, then you want to close your dashboard. You want to close your analytics. Think of your data as ways to help you be better, not as ways to judge you. Because when you do that, you're able to ask the right questions to fix what's going on. I'd love to end this session with a practical kind of something, a little framework that I want to send home with you, because I know the big thing I hear from small business owners is I don't have time. And granted, I don't think you woke up this morning going, I want to add more responsibilities to my plate. So what I have created is a quick framework that you can implement 10 minutes once a week. This is something I teach all of my clients, and I taught Alex as well. Once a week, sit for 10 minutes, not an hour, not a day, not 6 hours, 10 minutes. Think of your goal for that week, the activity that you did. What did you want to achieve? And have a look at the numbers related to that goal. Only those numbers. Ignore everything else. Next, you have to ask one question related to your information and related to your goals. For example, what happened? What's different? Where are people dropping off? Third, think of one insight. Look at your data and find one insight. For example, you saw your traffic was down, but your inquiries are up. That's an insight that you can get. Then I want you to take one small action to fix a red flag. I'm talking small. I'm not talking overhaul your entire strategy. I'm not talking implement new marketing software. I'm not talking do a brand reset. I'm talking small because we have limited time, we have limited energy, and small actions compound. If there's one thing, okay, there's two things I want to leave with you. First, please download the companion document. Second, I want you to remember that your information, your data isn't there to judge you. It's not there to make you feel bad or to grade you or to tell you how good you've been doing your marketing. Your numbers are there to show you where to focus your energy. And as small business owners, we have a finite amount of energy, finite amount of time. So we would rather do what we know is working and what we know is going to have the biggest impact in our business. That's what we did with Alex, and that's what I want for you. And hopefully with the information that you have received through this presentation and the information in the companion document, you now have the confidence to know what to look at, to know what your information says, and to know how to make confident decisions based on the information that you have received.